Hi guys, Jonathan here as usual. Actually, it's been 5 years and a half, more or less, that I've been living in Portugal, just outside Lisbon, so I wanted to film this video a few months ago. I wrote it, then I rewrote it, but I was, unfortunately, I was in a heavy situation, and all of my ideas came out semi-tragic or tragic in general. And I didn't necessarily want to give that kind of characterization to this video. I wanted it to be honest, but at the same time not like an anthem to nihilism. At the same time is my reference for what concerns philosophy. So I decided to divide this video into points in order to give it a structure and not get lost basically in my thoughts. So these points will be housing, work and mental health, photography, and the conclusion basically of the video. So I changed houses 3 years ago, more or less, and now I no longer live in the center of Lisbon, but I live on the coast in Costa de Caparica. It's the name of this little town on the other side of the river. So at that time I was in a moment in which I had to decide within a week if I wanted to go back to Italy, basically, or to move here outside the center of Lisbon, because basically our landlords ended the contract early because they wanted to do some renovations to put it back on Airbnb or some stuff like this, and we couldn't find anything with a normal price, so this was the only option available basically. So in the end, moving a bit outside of the city center had its benefits because we got out of the chaos of the city center. We saved a bit of money, we changed our lifestyle a bit, we gave more importance to relax, to our things, our hobbies, our passions, this kind of stuff, instead of just going out from Thursday to Sunday like every weekend because you're in the city center and you have your friends there and you have the bars and this kind of stuff. So instead of doing only that, we started to give more importance, more space to us, like in general. So obviously, for what concerns work and seeing friends, it's been a bit more complicated because the times have stretched, because we had to take into account the commute. Basically, from here it's like without traffic, it's like 20 minutes, 30 minutes to get to Lisbon. With traffic, is more like 50 minutes, 1 hour, so you have to take that into account. And so we are considering also moving back to the city center, or more or less like around the city center, if we find like a good offer for a place, like a bigger apartment that we actually like. Because it's nice to be more isolated from some points of view, but at the same time it's the same reason why we left the province of the northeast of Italy some years ago, because we were like in the middle of nowhere. Like here we are close to a capital, so it's a different situation, but at the same time we're staying in a small town, and I don't know if we really like this kind of vibe, or if we wanted something a bit more chaotic. Yeah, let's call it like that. So until last June, I worked in a company in the center of Lisbon for TikTok as a quality analyst. And it wasn't a particularly interesting job, but I was there for like 2 years and a half, so I got used to the environment. Yeah. Then the crack. The company closed, definitely, at the beginning of last summer, so I found myself for the first time without a job. Because in my life, in fact, I've always worked or studied, like until last summer, so this situation took me by surprise, honestly. I mean, I imagined it would be heavy, but I didn't know to what extent, you know, and I discovered that it's not for me to just stay stuck at home inventing every day something new to do. In these months, actually, apart from sending thousands of CVs all around and receiving sometimes proposals that were basically the same amount of money that I was receiving through the unemployment, so I was refusing these proposals, I also studied. I started studying something new again. I started studying German and Norwegian. German because I was considering moving to Germany, and Norwegian because I like movies and music from Norway, so I wanted to understand it a bit more. I don't know, just like that. And I also took a course in AI and business automation. That was something totally new for me that I wanted to develop because I thought that it was related in some ways to what I was doing as a quality analyst. And it was actually related, but then in the end I found another job that I'm starting soon that is not related to this kind of stuff. So, I mean, that's life. That's a chaos of life. So in general, I kept myself busy, not to mention my projects here on YouTube, on TikTok, on Instagram, and all that kind of stuff. I'm going to talk about this, by the way, in the next section, like related to photography. So in short, I tried to stay occupied and do the greatest number of things possible. Like I traveled during last year, I stayed with my friends, with my brother, with my girlfriend, but I don't know, deep down I was feeling that something was not okay, like with me, you know. So unfortunately I had significant problems with anxiety towards the end of the year, and I found myself in a place where I had never been before, and where I don't want to be in the future if possible. I mean, who knows, but if possible, because many times we as millennials or zillennials, we complain or make jokes about sadness, depression, anxiety, stress, and this kind of stuff, and it's all fun and games until you get a bit closer to this kind of stuff, and then it's not fun anymore, basically. So, yeah. In general, it was not easy, and now I don't want to claim victory, but I'm glad that I found a bit of balance, just a tiny bit, you know, and that's why I hope that 2026 will be a much better year, like for everyone in general, but in this case, for me, even if the bar is low, in my case, taking into consideration 2025, I still hope that 2026 will be a bit better, you know, a bit more interesting, a bit less depressing in some ways. And that's another sore point, probably. So in short, with the closure of the company I was working for last year, I thought that last summer would be the turning point for what concerns my project and photography, like especially. Because I already had planned a few trips, like Madeira and Morocco, for example. I knew that I was going to have more time to work on my projects in general. At the same time, I knew that it wouldn't be easy, because it's never been easy for me, because my journey as an online photographer and videographer has been pretty long. Until now, it started way before moving to Portugal, so it's been a long time. And I started to think that the closure of that company was a sort of signal from above, basically, that I had to do something different, that I had to move to in another direction and do something that was more suitable for me, and in general something that was related to my passions and my capabilities. And unfortunately it wasn't like that, because I had more time to work on my contents, like for example from June until now I posted like 30 long videos on YouTube and a lot of shorts, and then the usual content that I post on TikTok, on Instagram. So I still worked a lot from that point of view. But even though there were periods during the last months that were decidedly heavier from an emotional point of view, I always tried to push myself and to publish a lot of contents, and I'm glad that I did. Actually, at one point I also surpassed the 1,000 subscribers milestone here on YouTube, but honestly this thing didn't touch me a lot. Like, it was nice just to see that number, but at the same time, with a low watch time, that is still low, by the way, I find myself now in a situation in which I'm still I'm still very far from where I would like to be in terms of opportunities, in terms of career, in terms of a lot of stuff. talking about this YouTube project, like specifically. And when I saw that number, the first thing that I thought is that I should have been there like way before, you know. So I wasn't actually appreciating that milestone, that moment, you know. And yeah, but in general, I'm trying to come to terms with all of this. Because in 2026, this year, I turn 30, and I don't want to always feel like something big has to come, or always, you know, when you live in the future or in the past, so you think about future possibilities or nostalgia from the past, and you don't live in the present. Yeah, I don't want to always be like that, because of course my ambition, my ideas, my projects have an importance. But at the same time, there are other things that have importance. Like, for example, I have plans with my girlfriend. I would like to stay in a bigger place, for example, to have more room for our things, or to even buy a house, even if it's almost impossible, like in this economy. And maybe one day have a child, you know, this kind of stuff. So I don't want this ambition, these ideas of mine to make me feel in standby from some points of view, like always thinking that there will be a bigger moment, a better situation, that something interesting will come in the future. Because said like this, it sounds interesting, and it's good to have like some kind of ambition and to think of the future. But if you don't live in the present, because you're like, okay, the present is not what I would like it to be, and I'm already imagining the future and how I want it to look like, more or less. So if you're living in that kind of situation, after a certain point it's not fun anymore, and you only start projecting, and that's what happened to me, what is happening. So yeah, I'm always very open to every kind of possibility, and as I said before, I still have my ambitions. I want to work on my projects. I have a lot of ideas, as usual. At the same time, I don't want to live in this kind of bubble, you know, in this kind of illusion. And I want to concentrate myself on more tangible stuff. I know that I sound like an old head, probably because I'm getting older, and also this thing of turning 30. I know that it's just a number, but at the same time, I think that it's an important number. So yeah. I'm thinking of this. I want to share with you guys that I'm thinking of all of this, you know. So 5 years is a long time, and when I first moved here, I didn't know how long I would stay. I couldn't take for granted that everything would be fine, and a lot of things have not been fine in the last years. Like, it's normal, it's life, it's the life of someone who moves from one place to another. It's life, as I said before. So these years have been intense, have been difficult from some points of view, and they also coincided with, going from 25 to 30. That is basically the moment in your life in which you understand that you're not a kid anymore, that you're an adult, that you have responsibilities, that you have to do the things that adults are supposed to do. So now I feel like a completely different person compared to when I left Italy, and because a lot of things around me changed, like jobs, friends, family, situations, perspectives and priorities change. So now I feel like I'm in a moment in which I have to decide basically how to face this new chapter of my life that is my 30s. So this is exciting but also scary, because it's strange to not recognize yourself, to see that you have changed, that your priorities have changed, and to think of the future, for example, to think of this new chapter of my life, and the fact that I'm getting older slowly. It's not the easiest thing, probably. But in any case, I still think that it's also an opportunity. So if you happened upon this video expecting something like what it's like to live in Portugal and this kind of stuff, I hope that you still gather something like from all the conversation. that I had with myself. But at the same time, I wanted to focus on my personal experience. One thing that I've understood, for example, in the last 5 years, is that making comparisons makes little sense at one point, because a lot of times we're comparing bigger cities like Lisbon, for example, capitals, with small towns like the one where I come from, and the difference in life, you know, between these two types of places. And yeah, this makes no sense in the end. I want to stop making comparisons and thinking too much about this nostalgia that sometimes, yeah, takes me by surprise. I mean, I'm not surprised anymore by nostalgia because it's something that constantly lives in my mind. But still, sometimes, you know, there are those little things that happened, those memories that come to your mind, and you're like, okay, but where I used to live, it was like this, I was seeing those friends, I was going to this place. And the last years I discovered that the things that we liked before can be found also in a new context. Like, for example, I've always liked going around vintage markets, and these things can be found, of course, in bigger environments as well. So once you understand what you like and what you miss, it's easier, in my opinion, to find it again in a new setting, in a new environment, and not only think about the past, for example. So just to spend a few words about Lisbon, I mean, I like living in Portugal in general, close to Lisbon. I like the things that I have here, the friends that I have here. At the same time, jobs are not the best, salaries are not the best, are among the lowest in Europe probably. Housing situation is not good, like it's very hard to find something acceptable, talking about the quality of the houses, talking about the price of the rent, all this kind of stuff. I mean, I think that staying in Portugal in this exact moment is a very personal, it's a very personal thing in general. Like it depends on a lot of factors in the end. And talking about this, in the last 5 years, I've seen a lot of friends or just people that I met at work, for example, acquaintances, call them as you want, leaving the country or leaving Lisbon for other cities. So you have to get used to that. Like every now and then, the people that are around you change, switch, you know. Also because you know that the next one could be you in this case. So yeah, you have to get used to that as well. So after 5 years, however, I can say that, yeah, maybe I could have left, maybe I could have made other decisions in the last years, maybe I could have done things differently, but in the end, this effort, this thing of deciding that I wanted to leave Italy, I wanted to leave my hometown for a new adventure, and the fact that I've actually been living this adventure for the last 5 years and a half, I think that it will be something that in the future, like in many years, will make me think that, you know, in the end, I managed to live a little bit. So, guys, thanks for watching this video. I hope that you found it interesting, like this sort of life update. Yeah, interesting and not too depressing or too sad, like in general. If you want to share your opinions about living abroad, for example, if you've been living in another country, if you live here in Lisbon, for example, like if you have other experiences, kind of stuff, I'm all ears. So let me know, guys, in the comment section. If you want to support this channel, leave a like or subscribe if you're not subscribed yet, and see you in the next one. Bye.